Hello, Philadelphia! I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gargano Show!
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. I'm used to doing that, man. It's good evening, everybody. A little louder over here. Welcome. We are live. You can see this beautiful sports book behind me. Right? The TVs, the whole thing. We're live at the fabulous Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino, right here, Street Road, exit off at 95 in the PA Turnpike. It is the Mecca, right? We love our sports book, our Parks Casino, the Noodle House. Andrew and I are going to hit the Noodle House a little bit later on. We got the Steakhouse going on, the Excite Center, everything fabulous. Right here at Parks Casino, it's Cousins Corner, every week where we take a look at the world of sports, particularly the football weekend, from a betting standpoint. And let's get right to it. Lots of stuff. We had a little afternoon baseball. The Tigers with a shocker as the Tigers get rid of the Stros. Goodbye, Houston. And the upstart Tigers, man, a big dog. They take out Houston. Wild card Detroit moves on. They'll face the Indians or the Guardians of Cleveland. So we'll get lots to do, a lot of football to get to, and baseball with the NLDS about to start on Saturday. Looking like a collision course between Phils and Mets. We'll dive into that as well with our man, the ambassador of the Parks Casino Sportsbook and online casino app, Bet Parks. He, of course, the brain, Brad Feinberg. Good evening, Brain. I was about to do it again. Good evening, Brain.
How are you, buddy? I got to tell you, I love the Noodle House at Parks. When I was there, I ate there like literally, dude, I'm not lying. Every time I was there, and I loved it.
What is it about the Noodle House? Like, what is it about the noodles? I love it. I agree with you. I know.
It's just great. Like,
it feels like nourishment.
Yeah, I would recommend going down. Like, first of all, Parks Casino is actually legit beautiful. But the food's great. It's I would really highly recommend it. I actually really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it too.
Meet you and Andrew, and we'd noodle up.
Listen, noodle up, baby, noodle up. I love it. All right, let's get to some baseball today. As we saw, Tigers. Oh man.
They hurt my feelings.
That was a bad beat by you. You had under Tigers' run total, and it should have been. I mean, let's be honest. It's 2-1 game, and they just need to close it out, Houston. And Josh Hader comes in. He's a mess. The Houston setup and closer, as you saw with Hader, both guys come in and are just can't throw strikes. They can't locate. Hader had no command.
Do you remember, Anthony, like in the World Series, was it 2 years ago the Phillies lost the Astros, whatever it was? You know, Presley was unhittable. I think he got saved everything, and then he came in, couldn't do anything. Abreu was unhittable. Like, that's what you always talk about the bullpen, Anthony. I swear, it's the most fickle of fickle things. You get
They're
one
like kickers.
Year where like the Tigers this year. Every guy just no runs. But next year, it could be completely different. That's just the nature of bullpens. And right now, you have a Tigers bullpen that's just been unbelievable. And it's funny, the Astros bullpen, despite paying these guys $1 zillion, just hasn't clicked. And Hader, God, he got the biggest free agent contract, I believe, ever.
I know.
He didn't have it this year, my friend.
I know. You know what happens if you can't locate? Like, he couldn't locate. You know, he had the Presley had the wild pitch to tie the game, and then there was Hader all over the place, and Banez gets it. By the way, an 0-2 pitch. You throw that 0-2 to Banez. That was a horrible pitch selection.
There's nothing worse. Let me ask you a question, buddy. When you have a baseball team, when you bring in it could be anyone, but when you have bring someone in and they just have no command and they just aren't, it's like a helpless feeling. You're like, oh my God, what am I going to do to get out of this? Yep. And listen, he obviously just didn't have his stuff tonight. He didn't have his trust. He probably just knew he didn't have it. He's like, oh God, how am I gonna have a guile to get out of this, because I just don't have. I'm not throwing the way I want to throw it today. And I mean, look, it lets you probably make poor decisions in terms of your pitch selection because you don't have your control. It changes everything, right? Yep. It's like a trickle-down effect. You're right. 0-2. He throws a pitch there he shouldn't have thrown. I couldn't agree with you more. If he was a normal, regular Josh Hader day, probably never would have been seen that ever. But wasn't, and I've seen it from Edwin Diaz too, by the way. Diaz, who's another really high-paced guy, before he got hurt 2 years ago, had one of the greatest closer years ever.
Oh,
This
yeah.
year's been much more mortal. So if they do win this series and they play the Phillies, I don't think this is the untouchable Edwin Diaz that we saw like before, and when he went to the World Baseball Classic where he got injured. I think this is an Edwin Diaz where potentially the Phillies, if they need a run, if they're down by a run,
you could scratch it off him. Yeah, I agree.
I think you could scratch it off.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Couple night we talk about the Mets and Milwaukee will get underway tonight, and then Padres and Braves. And the way it's shaping up, Phil's Mets and Padres Dodgers, which would be an incredible division series.
I couldn't agree with you more, Anthony. And I know, Anthony, we talked about it on your morning show. From a betting standpoint or whatever, from a Phillies standpoint, I believe the Phillies getting the number 2 seed, while it doesn't give them home field advantage if they're to win this series and they play the Dodgers. Obviously, but I don't know about you, Anthony. Home field in baseball, you get the last at bat. I don't really care that much, and I'd much rather play this Mets team. This Mets team than play a Padres team to me that scares, or the Brewers. By the way, I don't care which one it is. Phillies are so much better than Mets or Brewers. Now it's a small sample size, but they should win either series, in my opinion, at least 3 out of 5 times. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, you bring up home field, and there's no better home field than Citizens Bank Park.
At the best.
Right.
Best.
Who'd have thought Arizona comes in and wins 2 in a row? So, and in game 6 and 7, that's unthinkable, right? So that makes your point about baseball and home field.
But I do think, again, to me the Dodgers playing the Padres to me is a great thing, and that one of these, again, there's 2 teams I really feared for the Phillies playing. 2 teams in the entire baseball, not in the National League. The Padres and the Dodgers. Every other team, they should be favored against. And by the way, if they play the Padres, they should be favored anyway. But to me, it's much more of a 50-50 series. And obviously the Dodgers, we know what their lineup, but they have no pitching. Listen, it's World Series or bust. We know that. But Anthony, again, I couldn't agree with you more. You want to talk about Ranger Suarez? I'm not feeling it right now.
Well, I don't think the Phillies are. I think his role will be out of the pen. Certainly Sanchez will be that guy. And, it's going to be a 5-game series with the Mets. So you're going to get the only question is, do they pitch Sanchez at home in a game 2, or do they pitch him in New York game 3? It splits home road are pretty dramatic. So I do.
What would you do?
I would pitch him game 2 and go Nola game 3 at Citi Field. I think Topper will stick with Nola in game 2.
Yeah, it's funny because here's the thing, Anthony. Someone like Nola to me is a true professional, right?
Yes.
Whether he's pitching in New York, Cuba, France, wherever, he's going to pitch well because he's a true, he's proven it time after time. Someone like Sanchez, to me, being in home confines probably means a lot. And so that's why I actually think that's a really interesting comment that you made. And I'm curious, do they say, you know what, maybe this is the better route for us to get a better performance out of a guy where we know Nola's probably going to pitch well wherever he pitches? Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think they'll go Nola game 2. I would play the numbers there. You know me, I'm not a numbers guy. But I do believe Sanchez is much better at home. He feels better at home. He feels more effective at home. So I let him toe the rubber at Citizens Bank Park. But let's go. Yeah. We got a full slate of football. So let's dive into it, all right? Let's start off tomorrow night, Tampa and Atlanta. Of course, the Eagles have seen both of these teams, right? The debacle last week, and then they came back and beat Atlanta. The Falcons, 1.5-point favorite on a short week. How do you read this game?
It's just, Anthony, I don't know, but listen, to me, this is a tough. I can make my numbers every single week, and I made this line Atlanta between 1.5 and 2.
Yeah,
sitting at 1.5.
Yeah.
Look, Anthony, you're right. We've seen both. By the way, I bet Atlanta last week. I got a lucky win. I laid 1.5. It closed 2.5. Quite frankly, I didn't deserve to get anything in that game. They got outplayed in that game. They got 2 fluky defensive touchdowns. Kirk Cousins stinks. I'm sorry. He just is not what he was. They're going back to the timeshare. Bijan Robinson getting less carries than Tyler Algier.
I don't understand that. I don't get why. I mean, Brad, we're talking about it now. I don't get why Atlanta. I don't like the way they run their offense. I would feed Bijan all day long. I mean, he's a weapon.
Couldn't agree more.
I don't think they use him properly.
I don't understand it. Again, and by the way, it's looking more and more, Anthony. I don't know if you agree with me. Kyle Pitts got all this hype. Fourth pick of the draft out of Florida, local guy. Like, okay, he's this. Man, I don't know if he's anything. I got to be honest. I don't know if he's anything. I don't know if it's an injury thing, but it's now, I'm like, okay, now he's playing with a quote-unquote more professional quarterback, and he's still just any fantasy guy can tell you.
He's ordinary.
Yeah, he's ordinary. And you sometimes, again, we talk about certain guys have good PR machines. He was the fourth pick in the draft, and people, I think, tend to maybe – and a good rookie year. Set the all-time rookie record he had 1,000 yards. But since then, he's been – I don't want to say trash. I don't want to be mean. But I'm saying he's not been what they expected.
I mean, he looked like a beast. He looked like a complete – like just a different type of weapon. And I agree with you. I mean, he feels, I don't want to say small, but like, man, when he was in college, you and I are college guys, and you saw like he was a monster. Like he was
a man among boys,
big, fast, right? Catches everything. He just doesn't look. He doesn't look like that monster target in this league.
I think Anthony. I think he's had some knee issues, and I always say it's interesting. Look, I'm not a professional athlete, but I have so much respect for all these guys who do it. And I always say the difference between being great and being good could be a knee nick. The difference between being good and being average could be another knee nick. The difference between being out of the league and average could be another. And he's had some knee issues. So I don't pretend to know how healthy he is or isn't. That would be disingenuous of me. But I'm just saying there could be reasons for it. But it's interesting. In this game, Anthony, look at Baker Mayfield. Here's a guy that, again, now he struggled against Denver. But Denver, let's be fair, Anthony. Let's be fair. Denver's defense has been elite. I mean, they've stoned everybody. They just have. Let's keep it real. They play great defense.
Well, the other thing, too, is they're just so well coached. I mean, Sean Payton is a great coach. I mean,
I love Payton.
I say it all the time about it's a coach's league because we argue it's a player's league. It's not a player's league. It's a coach's league. And all you got to do is follow the good coaches, and they just win. And they win without, like, great players. I mean, for years, we talk about Belichick, and Brady's Brady, right? So, of course, you have the best. But if you go back into those rosters, I mean, other than Moss for
David Patton,
right? Like he didn't have Troy Brown. He didn't have like elite receivers.
No,
I mean,
or running back. No one. He had no one elite. You know what? But it's interesting. If you look at, if you're fair, it's interesting. You know who also did that? Andy Reid with James Strash and Todd Pinkston, who were the two best coaches in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
We rest our case. But it's funny. Baker Mayfield, Anthony. I got to give this guy a lot of credit. I always try to be fair. You always have to, again, as a sports bettor, you have to be open-minded. You can't just say, okay, Baker Mayfield stinks. He was bad last year for the Browns. He now stinks. I have to give the guy credit. He's resurrected. He was on the map. Yep. He's been like the opposite of Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was up here, is now down here. Baker was here. He's not all the way up here, but he's at least, let's call it mid-pack. And I give him a lot of credit for turning around his career, something I never foresaw ever, notwithstanding the weird Tom Brady comments he made last week. He is playing well. They have two legitimate receivers, Anthony. I've always respected Bowles as a coach. I don't know about you. He was a guy
Dude, he's listen, I know people go, wow, against the rest of the league, he only had 2 sacks in his first 3 games. He only blitzes the Eagles, and it hurts. I mean, Vita Vea means so much to that team. So when he was out, like that hurts everything. So he comes back last week and they dominate. I mean, part of it is no A.J. Brown and Devontae. We know about that. But Bowles is, I agree, a very good coach. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how to read this. Usually short week, I favor the home team, and I kind of like Atlanta a little bit. But honestly, to me, I feel you. To me, it's a complete pick'em type of game.
And by the way, I always say this: the sports betting has evolved, Anthony, like nothing else in the world. Honestly, it's crazy. And you can be on your Parks app, okay? You could be watching this game, and you can say, you know what? Kirk Cousins looks like he's getting time tonight. He's looking good. I kind of maybe like Atlanta. Or you know what? He looks like a statue. They can't do anything. They're not even using Bijan. Let me take Tampa Bay. That's what I recommend. It doesn't have to be the 11th commandment. We shall bet on every game. There could be a game where you just watch it and trust your eyes. To me, this is one of those games pre-flop. I call it pre-flop before the game starts. I think it's the right number. I made the total 44. It's 44. This is just, and I didn't even find a prop I like in this game, Anthony.
Yeah.
It's a tough game for me. I think the lines makers at Parks did this one right. So
yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's go to Sunday. We'll start with the London game, Jets and Vikings. Sam Darnold, the story of the, this is an amazing matchup because he's the story of the league. The Vikings are, unbeaten, going against the Jets. Darnold against the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. It's unbelievable when you think about it, right? It's really good. It's a great storyline. Minnesota's 2.5.
I got to ask you a question. I wasn't asking this off air, but I got to ask you real quick. I know how close you are with Coach Rule. Have you spoken to him about Sam Darnold? Because I'm curious if he's like,
no,
I thought he always had this in him, or this shocks me at levels I can't believe.
I'll ask him. I mean, I try to keep it to, we were talking about his team and the whole.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Because but I always wonder. You see a player that really just. In 5
I'll
6
ask
years.
him. You know what? It's a good question.
I think
it really is. I'll ask him. I'll talk to him.
They started off 4-0, then they got some injuries. They started off well, if you remember, Carolina, and then they had some injuries, and he was playing really well.
Yeah,
he was playing well there. He was.
Yeah, he was. You're right.
Know, but again, this is why. Or is this a Ranger Suarez thing? Right? Ranger Suarez through 12 games. Cy Young, Ranger Suarez.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason 32 starts is what these pitchers do. Is Sam Darnold, Ranger Suarez of football? We'll find out. Look, I'm going to be honest. I really respect what the Vikings are doing a ton, and it looks like the Jets are just something's off. I can't really show my work on this one, but I still lean Jets. I just have a feeling they're going to.
I know. I feel the same way. I mean, they get stoned last week, right?
Yeah,
it's a really good defense, right? I feel the same way. I think I kind of feel Jets in this game. It's funny, I had the same vibe to it.
Yeah, and I like him a little bit in teasers. You can tease him up in Parks right now to get an 8.5.
Yeah,
plenty of games to tease it with. I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, and the Jets play these close games.
They run the ball. They're good defense.
Yeah, and I lean Jets, but again, I have so much respect for what Minnesota's doing, Anthony. So much respect.
All right, let's go to Cincinnati. Bengals. Oh, man. I know. Bengals hosting the Ravens. The Ravens, we knew we'd get off the mat. You and I both liked them against Buffalo. Man. It just felt right? It was, Buffalo off the short week. They had domination, comeback, and recency bias, everything else. It pointed all day to Baltimore. And, of course, Baltimore has a big day, and they smoke them.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And I know we talked about that, though. I know that was one of your best games of the week, and you were 100% right. Look, when I look at this game, it's very interesting because, gosh, Cincinnati, Anthony, you talked about their defensive line, and you just have been right. I mean, their defense just isn't good right now. Now, Burrow's been, again, I think he's actually looking better and better. And Chase had that amazing run and catch last week. And T. Higgins is back. I mean, I actually think this Cincinnati team will be able to score. I do. But I got to tell you what's crazy. Did you see Anthony Derrick Henry on that first run? You know that he was running faster than Xavier Worthy, they said. I couldn't believe it.
I know.
I couldn't believe how great Derrick Henry looked, how fast he looked. I mean, I was just like, what's this guy taking the fountain of youth? I mean, he looks amazing. I think Baltimore's definitely the better team. This is one of those games, Anthony. There's certain games where if the line's 3.5, I lean the dog. If it's 2.5, I lean the favorite because I think the line should probably be closer to 3. This was a game I thought would be between 2.5 and 3. It's sitting right now 2.5 minus 18 on Parks. It's just a tough game. It's a really tough game. If it gets to 3, my lean here would probably be the Bengals taking a field goal. Again, hate to not give these opinions. I think it's just a pretty good line. I do think Baltimore's the better team.
Yeah.
I really do think Baltimore's the better team, though.
Did you see it was interesting. They did a clip where they showed you Eric Dickerson and Derrick Henry, both upright runners, and they looked identical.
Yeah, well, Dickerson was great.
They looked identical. because they were both, upright guys, how they ran the football. And,
Sure.
Both were big and both also had, breakaway speed.
100%. Yeah, Dickerson was he was smooth, ran like a gazelle. Henry, to me, obviously just has the more power of the two. But look, I got to give Derrick Henry a lot of credit. A lot of people wrote him off saying, you know what, he's had his run as being the best running back in football for these 5 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Wasn't as dominant last year for the Titans. He's looked incredible. Now, again, Anthony, I'll say this. When you go to a spread offense, you go to quarterback, like a mobile quarterback, trends have shown it raises your yards per carry a half yard, which for a running back is a lot. So Derrick Henry, the guy who was a career 4.8 guy, now you see it really has. It's made that game that much more dangerous playing with an incredible player like Lamar.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. Let's go to, I think, the game of the day. I love this game. I just want to watch it. Bills and Texans. The Bills are a 1-point favorite. I like Buffalo in the game. Usually after, if you look at Josh Allen after he has a down game, he usually comes back with a vengeance. I like him. I think the Bills. I'm not right now. The Texans. I'm not in love with their defense. I thought they'd be better. I like Buffalo a lot in this game. Pretty strong.
I bet the other side, Anthony, and
Wow.
It's interesting. I hear you. I do. This was more a power ratings play for me. Again, it's not that it's a ton of value, but I thought, in my opinion, the Texans should have been close to a 2-point favorite, and they're taking 1. Now, I don't think they're going to blow them out. I think this game's going to be close.
Yeah, it should be a great game.
And I think I have the slight. I think again, I have the team at home that I think is as good. I thought Buffalo was getting too much love last week. I really did. I thought Baltimore was the better team at home. I don't think the Texans are the better team here. That's the difference. But I think they're pretty comparable, Anthony. Now, again, they got a fortunate win last week. Doug Peterson just can't get out of his way. But Jacksonville should have won that game last week. They really should have. I hear you. I don't know if Tank Dell's going to be back for this one. I don't know if Mixon's going to be back for this one. But I'm factoring they're not going to be. But I don't think this Buffalo team's as good as people think. I think Josh Allen is incredible, absolutely phenomenal. But I think the Texans at home, again, I thought they should have been a slight favorite. And that, to me, was a pure power ratings play for me. I think the game will be close. But I don't think I
get, you know what I don't like? I'm not in love with the Texans' defense. I did think they're vulnerable. They gave up 27 to the Colts. They got smoked by Minnesota. Minnesota put 34 up on them. And that Jaguars team went up and down the field on them. They had
that's fair, Anthony.
They had chances to win that game, and I look at I just don't think the Jaguars the Texans defense is good.
I hear you, but I don't think. By the way, and I'm just going to say I don't think the Bills defense is that good. I don't. I know they've had some success in a few of these games, but we watched Lamar. What they scored? They scored 42 points last week. How many points did Arizona scored? I think 31 on them. I don't know how good. Now, again, in sandwich between, they smoked Jacksonville. And who else did they beat, Anthony? They beat the Raiders. No, not the Raiders. Who else did they beat?
They beat Miami.
Miami, right.
That's when Tua got hurt, remember?
Yeah, that was when Tua got hurt. Again, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if either team, this defense is that great. While I agree with everything you said on Houston's defense, again, actually, I lean over 47 points in the game, too. I think that
I like the over. Teams, we could definitely meet at the over, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think both these teams should score in the 20s for sure. Because I don't trust either team's defense, quite frankly.
All right. Well, that's one of our rare. We usually agree, see it the same way. That's one of our ones.
I'll make a note for next week's show to go over that one.
Yeah, I like that. We got special guest who's going to join us each week, and he's going to go over the line movements. All right. So Matt Hannon is the sportsbook operations manager here at the at Park Sportsbook and Casino. I mean, he's one of the best. He's a local guy. He's a judge guy. All right, Northeast boy. We mix well, South Philly, Northeast, right? Yeah. So we got him, and Brad. Brad's with us, and Brad's going.
Hey, Brad, how are you?
And we're going to go through and find out kind of where the money's going, for some of these games. Okay, so let's Matt. Let's start in the NFL. Let's just look at the games first, and let's look at some movements. Let's start with tomorrow. So Tampa and Atlanta. Any movement there?
Yeah, they opened at -2.5 for the Falcons. Dropped down to -1.5 in the past day or so.
Really?
Yeah. So.
How about that, Brad?
Both coming off wins. Bucs obviously big win against the Eagles, and Falcons beat the Saints. So it's about a pick 'em, honestly. So little value on the Bucs money line, but if you're going to take the Falcons, you might as well take them 1.5.
When you see these stuff and you see it every week and the market's fluctuating and all, how much does recency bias? Brad and I talk about it all the time. Come into play.
It factors in a bit because obviously, bettors are going to go with what they've seen recently, obviously. So it does factor in a bit. That's when you start to see those funky lines. Someone has a big win and the line's not really in their favor, then it's kind of like, okay, where's that line coming from? But, it does factor in.
So
can I ask him a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask you a question, man. I'm very curious. Let's take a game like last week when the Eagles are playing Tampa Bay, right? And look, obviously, parks, again, are beautiful because everybody, it's a local, it's a Philadelphia casino, so you're going to get Philadelphia clientele that obviously like the Eagles. They like the local teams. Let's just say the market in that game was painted Philadelphia -1.5. Matt, will you maybe shade it to 2.5, saying, you know what? I know they're going to lay it, so if I know everyone's going to be betting the Philadelphia side, do I bump it up a point because of the Philadelphia bias?
No, honestly, we don't. We kind of stick with the national market.
Okay.
And we just take the action where we take the action. So, I mean, when the Eagles win, it could be a rough week for us, depending. But no, the market is what the market is. We don't take geography into account.
It's funny. Hey, Brad. Matt's my man. He's a Birds guy.
Yep.
He's a Birds guy, my man.
Yep.
Of course he is. He's a Northeast. He's a Northeast guy. He's an Eagles man.
Definitely take some heat in the office when the Eagles win. So,
hey, the London game, right? When these games in London, is there more action on that stuff because people? It's kind of a standalone. It's early. It's something different.
Yeah, I would say more live action because people, are just waking up, realizing the game's on, so they miss the pre-match bets or they'll maybe bet it Saturday night. But we'll see more live action on those games than pre-match action. But yeah,
Brad calls it pre-flop.
Yeah, pre-flop.
Yeah. He says, listen, you watch the game, see your eyes. You don't need to bet it pre-flop. You can watch it and analyze it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the Bet Park Sportsbook app, which is, you got live. You see it and you can bet it live.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have all the live lines, live player props, everything. So.
Like last week, that Georgia-Alabama game was wild.
Yeah, awesome game.
At one point what was Georgia, because they come all the way back in the game live, they had to be a big number.
Yeah, it was big. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it was big. Our liability was on Georgia, so it was a good result for us. But
it makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, number one team in the country.
Yeah.
I think people, I think Alabama is underrated because of Saban, right? Because when they think they lose Saban, people go, "Oh my God, well that's not the same Alabama team." Meanwhile.
They need to prove it. They need to prove themselves again, right?
Yeah, is a good coach.
Yeah, they're plus 400 to win it all now. So.
Oh, are they? Oh, look at that.
Yeah, Georgia dropped to plus 600. So.
And since we're talking about it, what's Milroe for the Heisman?
He's plus 230 now. He's the favorite. So
he's moved up to the favorite.
Yep. So.
Brad,
Alabama's
he's
back.
special, man. Milroe is terrific.
What about Ryan Williams, Anthony?
Oh, 17 years old.
A young receiver like that ever?
Yeah.
17-year-old kid.
Yeah, crazy.
And he's just a dynamic player. All right, let me ask you about Ravens and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Were anything going on there?
Early money's on the Ravens. Not much, but it's coming in on the Ravens. That's kind of a weird line, isn't it? Only -2.5, I guess, because of the divisional matchup. But, I'd expect that line to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but Brad and I were just talking about that.
Yeah.
We were just saying the same thing.
Yeah.
How about Bills and Texans? Because we just saw Baltimore destroy the Bills.
Yeah.
Where's the money there?
Right now it's on the Bills, actually.
Really?
On the road, yeah. Just early action. I mean, it could totally change by Sunday, but yeah, money's coming in early on the Bills. So I think people are expecting a bounce back, maybe.
How much does it change from during the week to then Sunday? Like how
As far as line movement?
as far as the how much money hits over the weekend?
Oh, it's enormous.
Yeah.
On Saturday and Sunday, it just takes over. We don't see much action during the week, honestly, on Sunday games. People wait till the lines, which I guess, I don't know how you look at it. Brad would probably bet early in the week.
Right.
Try and beat those lines, but
Exactly
yeah,
right.
Yeah, most of our action comes in on the weekend.
It's so fascinating. So Jane Daniels, toast of the league. Washington, surprise of the league.
Yep.
Against Cleveland, who is languishing. What's the
80 points in the last 2 weeks for the
Right?
Commanders. Yeah, it's crazy. Money's coming in on the Commanders so far, early. They're looking like they might win the NFC East at this point, even though.
Oh God, no! Could you imagine?
It'd be
oh
horrible.
my God!
Yeah.
The worst thing is Devontae Adams is requesting a trade, right?
Yeah.
And how about it, Brad? The two dark horses for Devontae Adams, Washington
Yeah.
and Dallas.
Yeah, crazy. That'd be horrible.
That would be terrible. It's right on, my brother. Right on. Any other ones early that you're seeing any kind of maybe overwhelming where the money's going in a certain direction of the 1 o'clock games?
Not much, honestly. Money's coming in on the Jags early, just because the Colts have the injuries with Jonathan Taylor and
The quarterback.
and Richardson.
Yeah.
I think Richardson did practice today, I believe.
Yeah.
So we'll see there.
I think I'll be honest with you.
Matt, I think that's a downgrade, Matt.
So I was gonna
yeah,
say the
that's
same
true.
thing.
That's true. Flacco, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's a legitimate downgrade.
Yeah.
Like, if they go to, I mean, that'll be funny if the line goes, because to me, if Richardson plays, I really like Jacksonville. If Flacco plays, it's more of a neutral game for me.
Yeah.
Because I think Richardson, it's funny, Anthony and guys, in the fantasy community, Anthony Richardson was going like the 5th round of these leagues, and Jaden Daniels was going around 10. I kept saying, I go,
Yeah.
in college, Jaden Daniels was 1,000 times better than Anthony Richardson. 1,000 times.
Yep.
Why does everyone taking Anthony Richardson so much ahead of Jaden Daniels? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then you watch these guys play, and you're like, what? I don't get the love for Anthony Richardson.
No,
Great athlete.
Yeah, I'm with you. I totally feel you. I'm interested in Denver too. They're a good story. They're a good team.
Good defense.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they have a great coach. They're hosting the Raiders this week. What are you seeing there?
Early money's on the Broncos, especially with the Devontae Adams thing up in the air. So I would expect more money to come in on the Broncos on that one. Total's pretty low, though, 36 on that total. So low-scoring game, we expect. So we'll see.
How much action do you get on the total? Like, generally speaking.
Most people bet
percentage?
the overs, honestly. Yeah, people love to bet the over.
Except Brad. Brad's an unders man.
Yeah, he's smart. Nobody wants to see low-scoring games, so we get a lot of bets on overs.
I tease Brad because, listen, he's the best at it, right?
Yeah.
But I tease him and I go, you bet against human achievement.
Yeah.
Interesting game. Giants and Seattle, right? We just saw Seattle on Monday night. Now back home against the Giants division.
Yep.
What's going on there?
Giants are rested. I still expect to see money on the Seahawks there, honestly. I don't think the Giants have shown much yet.
Right.
So I think the public, after seeing how the Seahawks did against Detroit, they might stick with the Seahawks there.
I'd like to make a comment about that game, guys. I think it's very relevant, very important. I'm pretty confident. Like, to me, if you bet Seattle right now, I call it a free roll bet. What do I mean by that? Laying 6.5 is a very fair number, okay? I do not think Malik Neighbors is playing. He is not clear concussion protocol. Everything I'm hearing from people I spoke to, I don't think he's going to play. Now, things can change. If Malik Neighbors does not play, that line certainly goes up to at least 7. maybe even 7.5.
Yeah.
I don't think 7.5, but at least 7. So I think if you like Seattle right now, I wouldn't wait. I'll go to the park side. I'd bet it now because I think you're getting a free roll. If he does play, to me, it's still that's what the line's going to be, and I don't think he's going to play.
And Gino's playing well.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's playing really well. All right, the great game Sunday night, particularly those of a certain age like Brad and I.
Yeah.
Not you, Matt. Cowboys and Steelers. All right, this is like Dallas, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
This is a great game from Pittsburgh. What are you seeing? Everybody want the Cowboys?
I would expect that. I haven't seen much money come on it yet, but Steelers opened at -2. They're at -2.5 now, which is crazy. But
wow, so it moved to half a point.
Yeah, in the Steelers' favor. You would kind of think it would go the other way.
That
but
line's telling me Pittsburgh.
Cowboys are dealing with a couple injuries. Parsons, Lawrence, Brandon Cooks is probably out too. So they're banged up. So and Steelers' defense is good. Mike Tomlin's a great coach.
He is.
So, yeah.
I thought line's telling me Steel Curtain.
Yeah.
Bradley. Oh, we'll talk about that in a moment. We appreciate Matt's time. And if finally a Monday night game, which is another really, really good game, Chiefs and Saints. Of course, the Chiefs lose Rice.
Yeah, big loss.
Yeah,
big loss. He
man.
was starting to turn into a little superstar there.
He may be okay, Anthony. Did you hear the news? He may be okay. I mean, he's not going to play this week, but this may only be like a couple-week thing, not season-ending.
Oh, that's huge.
It may be. Maybe. They still are trying to determine it, but there's maybe some optimism. It's not going to be season-ending. Hopefully.
Wow. That would be that's a monster deal.
This is my best game of the week, by the way.
Okay, well, let's
see. Betting on that? I'm curious.
Who would I be betting on?
Who are the people betting on?
Oh, they'll take the Chiefs. They'll definitely take the Chiefs. Mahomes, I mean, at home, prime time, they won't bet against him, I don't think. We'll see.
Anthony, who am I taking?
Saints.
Yeah, my best game.
I know.
Win outright.
Well,
outright.
Well, we'll talk about that. All right, save that because we'll definitely talk about that as the show goes on. Matt, just while I have you, a couple things. One, I love the player awards, Major League Baseball.
Okay.
Who have you had the most liability? Let's go Cy Young.
Cy Young, this is where the local market actually does come into play a little bit. Ranger Suarez was our biggest liability for Cy Young.
Get out of here.
Yeah, because of the first half he had. So,
oh, my God. I'm sure as he was getting hot.
People jumped on him pretty big.
Geez.
And Scooble's another one for the AL. So I think he's got that locked up, honestly. Looks like Sale might win it.
Yeah.
In the National League.
How about Wheeler?
Unfortunate for Wheeler. We did have action on Wheeler, but Rangers odds are just so high that it kind of jacks up the liability a little bit. So, some surprise there with Ranger, but hopefully he gets it back together before the playoffs.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We need him.
Yeah.
We need Red October. We need Ranger. Yeah. How about MVP?
Judge and Ohtani.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Favorites.
Yeah. Betts and Henderson got some bets too. So, but yeah, anytime. Ohtani's definitely every year at this point. So
he's got to be. What would he be, Brad? Like going into the next year, what would you make him as a favorite?
Plus between 150 and 250, which is like the lowest you really can make someone.
Yeah.
You can't make anyone lower than that.
Yeah, there's too many options, but he's still.
Yeah, but you can't make him maybe plus 150. I just wouldn't want anyone betting on him.
And then he comes back and he's gonna pitch.
Yeah, I don't need anyone betting on that. It's just he's so good.
Yeah.
All right, and then finally, I'm curious, in college football, any movements, any games that stand out to you in college?
Not really. It's kind of a down week, actually.
I know. There's no big. Like last week, with Wayne's Georgia, Alabama.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you get those weeks where it's like there's not really any fun matchups. But let me ask you one thing, because you're a Penn State guy, right?
Yep.
So on the Park site, you could bet to make the playoffs, right?
Yep.
Make the college playoffs.
Yep.
What's Penn State?
Penn State's minus 250 right now, so they got a pretty good shot at making
Wow.
it, I think. Yeah. Thank God they expanded it.
Yeah, man. Listen, that's a big deal. Minus 250 is saying something.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They got a good team this year. Drew Aller's
I love Aller.
protecting the ball. Singleton's
He's got
a
a big
beast.
arm, man.
Running back Singleton is unbelievable. So they got a good team this year. So hopefully they keep it going. USC next week. That's a big one.
That's a big one. This week it's UCLA.
UCLA. Yeah, they're 28-point favorites. So might want to take the plus 28 if they're looking ahead to USC. You know.
Yeah.
but-
UCLA covered, I guess, against LSU. It's so weird with the conferences because the travel's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, who is it, Brad? Who's playing Rutgers? Is it Washington? It was some
No. You're saying this week?
somebody was playing
Nebraska.
Nebraska's playing. Nah, that's why I saw that.
Nebraska. It's a great
Yeah,
game.
but no, I saw. Was it last week? Some West Coast school was playing Rutgers, which is wild.
Washington.
It was Washington.
Yeah.
Yep. It was interesting. Matt, I got to tell you, what a pleasure. Matt Hannon, he's going to join us every week to kind of go over where the money's going, what's happening here at the incredible Parks Casino, Pennsylvania's #1 casino.
Yep.
My brother.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks, buddy.
Appreciate
there he
it.
is. Matt's terrific. Eagles fan, Penn Stater. He's truly a Northeast guy. Bradley, let's continue going through these games. Let's go to where we at. We are Carolina and Chicago. Bears 3.5-point favorites.
Listen. I mean, Carolina just lost one of their best. I forget who it was, Anthony. They lost another top defensive player. Look, I cannot back watching Caleb Williams play. I'm just stunned about how inaccurate he is when I watch him. Now, I'm not giving up on him. Let me make this clear. He's just been bad, and Danny Dalton's been good. This is just a game, again, I think the Bears win the game. I'm not anxious. I can't lay points with this team. I just can't. I thought the line should be between 3.5 and 4. This is a pass. I do think the Bears win.
How about let's go back to Washington and Cleveland. I know we touched on it with Matt, but how do you kind of look at this game? The Washington 3.5. I don't know. I mean, at some point they got to pull the plug on Watson. Their defense is too good.
I bet Cleveland here, believe it or not. I went
get
like
it.
This. I went like that. I'm putting on like my.
You're holding your
my
nose.
equipment to cover up my nose, not watch the game. It's one of these games you're just better off not watching. Look, Jaden Daniels has played. I can't do anything else than give him his flowers. I didn't think he'd have this kind of success. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think he'd be this dynamic. He's been great. Watson is bad, and no one has disliked Watson more than me. Like, I'd win the gold medal. No one has been more down on him. I watched that game last week, and as brutal as he was, he had about 4 plays that they were called back on penalty. He threw an 80-yard pass to Cooper, which was actually a nice play, got called back by penalty. There was multiple plays where they just shot themselves in the foot. I just think, again, I know, again, in the NFL, what we learn, Anthony, there's really not a carryover, right? Every game's its own, like, portrait, so to speak. And you want to give me, again, I just thought the line should be 3, so I took 3.5. Obviously, a half point off 3 is worth a lot.
Listen,
all these,
it's going to say something. Now, I'm a huge Kingsbury fan. I think he's a terrific coach. And I think he's done a great job with him. This will be the true test because this is a legitimate defense. And
I think so.
I'm curious to see, if they can continue, that'll tell me something about how real Washington is.
Fair.
Because at first blush, I completely agree with you. Colts and Jaguars, you said it. If Richardson plays, you like Jacksonville.
I do. If Richardson plays, I'm going to bet Jacksonville. I'm purposely holding off on this game. But if Flacco plays, the other thing is crazy. I think there was an article on ESPN about it, basically saying, like, they're talking about some different coordinators. Why is it that the passing is down so much? The passing touchdowns, everything. And they're like, the theory was, well, maybe there's been just so many more young players to come in the league last few years, while some of these veterans like Andy Dalton and Joe Flacco are just crushing them. Anthony Richardson, again, I'm not saying he doesn't have a good career ahead of him. It's certainly possible. But I'm just saying right now, today, I see an incredible athlete that can run and make some individual wow plays. You're like, oh, my God, look at that run. Look at that 70-yard pass in the air. Look at his athleticism. But then you just watch the other 95% of the plays. You're like, it's just not getting the job done. Flacco's a pro. I have no interest if he plays. If Richardson plays, I like Jacksonville to get their first win, and I'll bet it.
So let me throw a theory at you because I have a theory. So The quarterbacks, the running quarterbacks, right? I'm not talking about Lamar because while he can run, he can also throw it, right? Like he's got a great arm. Mahomes is the same way, right? But the quarterbacks that are, not as good as throwers but are runners, it feels like defenses have figured out a way to stop them. I mean, look, they're forcing you. You could see it right here with Jalen, right? Like there's things in the pocket that
he do what you don't want to do.
Like he's got to be
that's 100%
quicker, right, in those decisions. And in Brady talked about it, right, in the clock in his head and in pocket, that sort of thing. But it feels like a guy like Richardson, who is more of it, like Jalen throws it, but Richardson is more of a running quarterback, right? Like, so those quarterbacks aren't having the same success.
Yeah, Anthony, like to me, to your point, I think Richardson's at the far end of that spectrum of that, right? Even
Agreed.
Jalen, at least he's, shown he can pass it. Richardson, to me, it's like you're begging him to throw the ball. Like you're like, okay, go ahead, throw. Do it. I dare you. I double dare you. I triple. It's like watching a guy shoot a three-pointer like Ben Simmons, right?
Yes.
Ben Simmons was a good player, but you let him shoot the three, right?
Right.
Anthony Richardson may have some good talent like Ben Simmons, but you're like, go ahead, pass. You're going to scare me because of your wow individual plays, which you're going to make a few because you have that arm strength, you have that athleticism. But over the course of the game, it's not just one or two plays. You're going to have to beat me by, especially death by 1,000 paper cuts. That's where I would do a prevent defense. A guy like that, I'd be like, all right, I dare you to have a 15-yard drive against me. I'd go ahead. If you do it, okay. If you can make the quick reads and be successful, that's a case where if you want to say, all right, I'm going to make him just drive down the field, that's a guy I have no problem doing that with because usually I hate that philosophy. But to me, again, as I said, I will bet on Sunshine and Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson to get their first win. As soon as I get note that what's name's playing. Now, again, here's the other thing is Jonathan Taylor may not play. So I really want to lay 2.5 in that game. But I really want to make sure it's not Flacco because I actually respect Flacco as a guy that could come in there and beat me. So for me, I'm looking forward to hear the news on Richardson.
Yeah, I completely, I feel you on that. By the way, my man Nikki on the text board says your hat game much better tonight.
Well,
now I can't see you.
I don't
have the monitor.
I was throwing out number 8 starters, with the other hats. I can't even. Anything is better than what I wore. The trash I put on the other couple of days. I'm expecting, Anthony. You got to send me something good.
Yeah, Vinny is sending you the PHLY
hat. I'll put on the Parks hat for
yes.
the show. I'll gladly do that.
Yes.
But the hat's no excuse. As I said, that they were pretty poor, and I own it. At least I don't make excuses. They were bad.
Dolphins, Patriots. Wow, man, that Dolphins team stinks. I thought they would be a little bit better with Huntley. I had a soft spot for Huntley when he was with Baltimore.
So did I.
I never
we didn't talk about this.
Bad.
I swear to God, I did. I swear to
me
God,
too.
I actually did. But have you ever seen a game? I don't know if you watched the whole thing. Have you ever seen a game when there was 3 80-yard touchdown passes a guy misses in one game?
No.
He had Tyreek Hill 3 times, and it's like, man, again, as much as I.
It's a shame. The third one, he overthrew him, which is hard to do.
Hard to do. And as much as I have not loved Tua, and I think he's an overrated player, I guess his evidence would be, okay, now watch what happens when I leave the game against Seattle and against the Titans.
Yeah,
you can't even get a first down. I rest my case. So I guess that's why they maybe pay these guys $50 million like him. And I'm like, man, why are you doing it? But I guess when you have a quarterback that just can't play, it makes it impossible. And I was stunned how bad Huntley looked. I got to be honest. I did not see that coming.
I thought the same thing. I thought they were going to win the game. I was like, I think Huntley's.
I mean, look, if you want to bet this game, I wouldn't bet this game with. This is just not.
No.
This is just not a game on my radar. I don't
no,
really have any
you hear with Parks, we cross that game out, on the sheet, the Park sheet, cross it out.
I like it.
Arizona and San Francisco, Niners, 7.5-point favorite against the Cardinals. I think that's a little too fat.
I agree. Anthony, it's interesting. It actually was even at 8. But even at 7.5, I definitely lean. Listen, Arizona, Anthony, is one of those teams where you never want to take them as a favorite, ever.
Right.
You just don't. I thought they were going to win last week. Full disclosure, I thought they were going to win last week. But they're a team that as an underdog, especially when you're getting over a touchdown, you're like, yeah, give me this team because they can score 24 any week, any time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And San Francisco. By the way, I will say this: a guy who I've raised my my power as an individual player that I've raised my opinion on this year a ton. I think Brock Purdy's incredible. Like I actually think he's incredible. Like I don't think he's
talk
good.
to Baldy.
I think
Baldy
he's
loves
great.
him. Yeah, yeah.
I think he's like legitimately great.
Yeah, Baldy's
didn't
always loved
necessarily
him.
think that, but now when I watch him now, I think this guy is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But look, they are getting a little bit. They got Debo, they got Kittle back, which was obviously huge. Still little injuries on defense. Obviously, losing Hargrave for the year is going to hurt them, and obviously no McCaffrey. But I'm going to take. I like Arizona getting over a touchdown. I think they can keep this game competitive. Unlike New England, who had nothing to offer, Arizona can score, and they can score enough to keep this game kind of like that Bills game they played in week 1. I think San Francisco wins the game, and I think it's probably going to be a higher scoring game. I think the total right now on the park site is 49.5. But I think Arizona will be able to score and keep the game competitive.
All right. Explain to me why Denver is only a 2.5-point favorite.
Again, Anthony, here's the reason. I'll give you the reason why.
Yeah.
A team like Denver, and I like Denver 7 out of 7 days here. To me, the coaching edge is again, no offense to Anthony to Pierce. The coaching edge to me is right off the bat. That's worth, I don't even know how many points, but that to me is a massive coaching disadvantage. Obviously, no Devontae Adams. I don't think Max Crosby is going to play. I mean, he's such a great player, Max Crosby. Denver to me, Anthony, their defense is great, but again, with a team like Denver, it's tough to lay points, right?
I know, but they're just so bad. Raiders got nothing.
I like Denver. Again, I would never lay 3. And actually, I'm looking right now.
I'm just trying to figure out why. I mean, I think the line should be 3.5.
Yeah, but you could. Let me see something. If Parks usually has a thing where you could change the spread on it. It's not up right now, but I would rather, instead of laying 3, laying 0.4, I'd probably rather lay 2.5, laying like 118,
right?
Something like that. Because to me, in a game like this, when a team like Denver, where every half point is worth a lot for a team that doesn't score a lot, low total game,
is it worth? I was going to say, is it worth just laying? It's 155 on the Parks line, the money line. So just because who knows? They could win by 2. That's got ugly 17-16. Yeah. Somebody hits a 55-yard field goal.
I just trust as an organization. Just because the heck, I mean, to me, Anthony, you said it. I trust Sean Payton 1,000 times more than the Raiders organization.
All right, Rams and Packers. Packers 3-point favorites on the road.
I went down. It was 3.5, Anthony, which is interesting. This line actually was seeing 3.5. I listen. We saw Green Bay last week, Anthony. I like Green Bay. I bet Green Bay fall behind 28-0. It was just one of those games where it was an avalanche game where everything just started bad, and they actually cut it to a 2-point game, I believe, right?
Yeah.
6-point game. They got close. I like Green Bay here. I think Green Bay is a good team. I actually do.
I do too. I'm with you. I actually love Green Bay in this game. No, I'm with you.
I don't think the Rams are a good team. I think that
27-13.
I think the Rams have a great. And by the way, Anthony, you know what I'm expecting here? I'm expecting a huge home field advantage.
Oh yeah.
For the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
So
totally.
to me, this will be probably their biggest home field advantage of the year, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to dare. Look, I love Stafford. He's one of my all-time favorite players. I think he's just incredible. But and I love McVay. So this is a case where I hate to fade the coach quarterback combo here, but I just think I have a really good coach on their side, and I just think I have a much better roster, I think, with Green Bay. I think Green Bay wins this one, and I think 3's too light. I would have made this line closer to 4.5, actually. I think it's too low.
I'm with you. I love Green Bay. We talked about Seattle and the Giants, and you said free roll on the Seahawks, which I think you're spot on because without Neighbors, I mean, they become
Watch what happens with this
toothless.
line when Neighbors is announced out.
Yeah.
Just make a note on your sheet. When Neighbors is announced out, make a note. Right now the line's sitting 6.5. The line's going to go to 7.
Yeah.
You're getting it a day early. And if Neighbors plays, okay, then to me it's still, again, I still have no problem with the bet anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, to me, without Neighbors, I double dare Daniel Jones to have success. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson's playing better now because they all the attention Neighbors is getting. And by the way, Singletary has a hamstring issue. Not that he's great, but I think he's better than Tyrone Tracy. He may not play. But I thought Geno Smith looked phenomenal, Anthony. I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC right now, and I thought Geno played incredible. I actually was unbelievably impressed with him. For a team that lost by 2 touchdowns, I came out here thinking Seattle's better than they were beforehand, which may not make any sense.
You know what, dude? I thought the same thing. I'll be honest with you. I was impressed. I
so
was
was
completely impressed by them. And then I love this game, man. I love Pittsburgh, Dallas. I do. And I like the Steelers in this game.
See, this is a game, Anthony. It's funny. Look ahead line. Dallas is laying 2. That's when I really like. I'm like, this line's going to flip. This line is going to flip. Dallas should not be laying 2. Pittsburgh will be favored when this game comes. Boom, the line flipped. Look, Pittsburgh's another team, Anthony. We talk about Denver. I struggle inherently to lay points with a team that's so hard for them to score points.
Yeah.
Fields is great. I give Fields a lot of credit. He's turning his career around.
Yeah.
He's playing hard. And he's playing well. I give it to him. I love and Dallas has the injuries, Anthony. Leaning here, Pittsburgh, but I struggle inherently to lay points. So it's a pass for me.
Yeah. I think the public's going to be all over the Cowboys.
We will see. We will see.
They're going to look at
Dallas
Justin Fields, Cowboys, I just think the Cowboys are a paper tiger.
They're more the comfort food team, because they can at least pass the ball and, okay, we have Dak, we have CeeDee Lamb, as opposed to a team like Pittsburgh that's more meat and potatoes, having to rely on defense.
All right, so now you said this, your game of the week.
Easy.
And you're calling it outright.
Outright.
The Saints go into Kansas City and win.
Outright. Anthony, listen, you follow the sport at the highest level.
I think
Kansas
it
City
sets up
to
for the
me
Saints.
Is Kansas City to me, again, coaching staff, they have the best head coach, they have the best defensive coordinator, they have the best quarterback. But man, again, when you just keep taking, again, that next man up mentality, Anthony, it gets to be a point where I just say, all right, I think there's too many injuries here. Without Pacheco, without Rashee Rice, Anthony, I think they're going to struggle to score. And I actually think the Saints will have success and do enough offensively to not only keep this one close. Again, I'm flat out. I'm not just saying this. Now, again, I thought this line would come in at probably around 4-ish, maybe 4.5. So it's not much different than what I thought. But this is just a feel thing where I just feel matchup-wise on this game,
I agree with you. I'd set it up, man. Yeah, I'm with you. They could actually win by some margin too.
I think the Chiefs are a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. Well, they need Rice because Rice gives them.
Now again, hopefully he comes back.
Yeah, Rice is such an important thing. I mean, when you lose Pacheco, you can't lose Rice and Pacheco to that offense.
No,
I mean, you saw it last week. Hunt can't. Hunt's got nothing.
Yeah, and I'm saying, and as great as Mahomes is, by the way, this is probably, Anthony, would you agree with me, the worst you've seen Mahomes play?
Yeah.
I'm not just being fair. Again, he's the best player. I'm just saying, but he hasn't played great. Just
I agree.
Fair. For a guy who I have ranked as the best player in the league.
Yeah.
This just hasn't been the.
And how long is Kelsey going to be dominant for?
I mean, again, I don't know. Yeah, I think the Saints have more weapons here. I really do. And Carr's played well enough. I think they're going to win the game outright. And again, you want to give me 5 points?
Yeah.
5 points?
My man Tooch, he's all about it. He said Saints outright. But he goes, tail the brain.
Yeah, I feel good about this one.
All right, listen, while we have you, anything in college? Because I like the Huskers.
It's funny, Anthony. That's a great game. That's a great game. I mean, Rutgers has played really well. And Shiano is another one of those coaches, Anthony, that, But you know what's interesting? They got very fortunate to win last week, Rutgers. Only way I can look, absolutely is the Nebraska side. I love Nebraska quarterback play.
Yeah.
I feel like Rutgers has been, again, great story, and they've been great. Line, I think, is up to 7. It was sitting at 6. I just wish you got it at 6, but I do think that Nebraska gets this one done. A couple games I'll talk about real quick, Anthony. Louisville, SMU.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 minutes. Yeah, Louisville. I liked Notre Dame last week against them, and I was, Notre Dame beat them, but Louisville actually outplayed them. They outgained them by over 100 yards, and I actually thought Louisville outplayed them. Now SMU's, I had high hopes for SMU before the year. They bench Preston Stone early. Jennings, I don't know. He's been a runner, but I think SMU they've gotten a bunch of defensive touchdowns. They have 5 non-offensive touchdowns this year. 5. That's not stuff you can count on. I think Louisville wins this one by double digits. That's the game I did bet. I'll give you another one, Anthony. Iowa State's playing Baylor. Now Baylor, Baylor, they lose these close games. Iowa State, we talked about last week, Anthony, how
Rocco Becht is my main man.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's good enough. I don't think this Iowa State team's good enough offensively to be laying 11.5 points against at least a decent team. To me, Baylor is decent.
It's a big line.
Take
it's fat
11.5
line.
points. This, again, laying margin, taking Iowa State's defense is great. They're not great on offense. I think this game, again, you want to talk about a pizza bet? I don't know I'm trying to go to the money line right now on the Park site, Anthony, because to me, you tell me they win the game outright, I'm not calling it, but let me go. I'm looking up right now. I'm not calling that they win the game outright or anything, but I think they have a chance. I think they have a chance to win this one, and you can get a really nice price. Again, taking the points, you can get plus 350, right? And you can take 12 points, 12 or 350. Don't even hate a pizza bet on that, Anthony. I think that game is close. I really do. I'll give you, Anthony, it's interesting. Here's a stat for you. If you would bet blind the Service Academy over-unders, the last 53 games they've played, you're 44-9 to the under.
Wow.
What? Is that crazy? This week we talk.
Wow.
But this total's really low. It's 36. And Navy, Anthony, this year has been incredible. They're 5th in the country in yards per play. They're 9th in scoring. They're scoring 46 points a game. Now they're laying a big number. They're laying 10 points. But if there was ever a time I would not, I'm not saying I would take the over. I'm not going that far, but I would not just blindly take this under, because I think this Navy team seems to be better offensively than the other Navy teams we've seen. So I would just give advice that this would maybe be one I would not do that always you do in the past.
That's good. I like that. That's good stuff. Anything Michigan and Washington? Your Michigan Wolverines at Washington.
Anthony, Michigan watching. Did you see what Dave Portnoy said?
No.
He goes, I will give
Presidente
$3 million. I will give $3 million to Michigan to sign any of these, like any quarterback, just to not have what they're doing. And I'm like, God, Dave, I love you.
Awesome.
Thank you. But Anthony, if you've watched Michigan
that's
this
awesome.
year,
The Presidente.
He said he would pay it. He would pay the $3 million.
He would.
He's like, I can't take this anymore.
He's the best. Yeah.
It's watching Michigan's quarterback. I can't look. I could never back Michigan. I mean, that any team that has a pulse, Washington has a pulse. Washington should have won last week. Look, if you can get me under 3, to me it's Washington. That's the only way I'm looking in this one. Let me see what Park has right now. They have
2.5.
Okay, Washington's laying 2. I'm looking. Now Washington hasn't been great, but this is a Michigan team, Anthony. Again, you talk about a team that has to win when everything kind of just goes right. Very good defense. But man, Anthony, how's it easy to win when you run the ball 97 times a day and you pass it twice? If you're playing a decent team, that's just hard to win that way. To me, it's Washington or pass.
Yep, I'm with you. Hey, last thing real quick. My man Toots said it. How about the O's going down? Nothing but toothpicks. Toots said toothpicks.
Oh, man. I saw 1-1. What's the score now?
2-1.
2-1, bottom 7.
2-1 Kansas City. Bobby Witt with legs out an infield hit.
My buddy. He's. But yeah, that's. Listen, I got to tell you, like Baltimore just down the stretch, Anthony, was really poor.
American League's
weak.
American League stinks.
Weak.
Yeah.
Everyone stinks. The best 3 teams, I'll say it again, in the NL. And the Phillies, thank God, get to avoid at least one of them. So, I don't know what to say, but yeah, the AL's garbage.
I love it. Brain, great stuff as always. So have a great night. We'll talk to you in the morning and get it all started again. So thanks, buddy. Good work.
Love it, buddy. I can't wait to be on. I'll see you next week.
You're the man, pal. There he is, the brain. This is Cousins Corner, live from the beautiful Parks Casino, right here, Street Road exit off of 95 and the PA Turnpike in lovely Bend Sound. This is the great spot. As always, we're here. Don't forget all the good stuff. You have the sports book. You have the Excite Center with all the great comedians and musical acts. TLC will be here at the end of the month. Patti LaBelle, the whole thing, and all the great restaurants. Steakhouse, Noodle House, which, at some point I think I need to hit up. I'm not feeling well, so I need a little Noodle House, a little Medicine for that. As always, my main man, Andrew Frazier. Frazier! Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
He's had a long day. He was with me this morning at 8:30 and 7 o'clock. He was here. And so now we're going to get out of here. Have a great night, everybody. Good luck, all right? And we'll see you in the morning.
We all silly like the mayor.